If people didn't invent gods, I wouldn't have to deny them. And it's just... But if I'm asked if I believe in God, I'll say no. I mean, the tricky one is I did a film called The Invention of Lying, where I did a scene where thank you, 7 people saw that film, where my mother in that is dying, and it's because I'm the only person in the society who can lie. She says, I don't want to go to nothingness. And I go, there's not nothingness. It's a beautiful place you go and you're young again. And I invent heaven, right? And that comes from the fact that when my mum was dying, I did face a dilemma. If she'd have said, do you think there's a God? That's a personal thing, and that's...
So atheism, I can remember, and I don't know whether this has any resonance for you at all, but I can remember listening to you on the radio, and I can't place this, I know it's a long time ago, and I would think it's after the initial success of The Office, I think, and I think it's Steve Wright, but I might be wrong, and he said something like, you must wake up in the morning and say, thank God for my amazing things that are happening. And you said, why would I say thank God? I'm an atheist.
Right.
And it was the first time I'd heard the word atheist on kind of public radio.
Well, I mean, yeah, there shouldn't even be the word, should there? If people didn't invent gods, I wouldn't have to deny them. And it's just... but it's like... I was told when I sort of started breaking America to not mention I was an atheist.
Really?
Oh, 'cause first thing I did. On every first thing I did. Why? What am I going to lose? Imagine not doing something because people hate you because of what you are. That's that's my only thing I've got. I'm a white, rich, middle-class man, but at least I'm hated for being an atheist. Do you know what I mean?
And
I'm oppressed. I'm oppressed in 13 countries I'd never go to anyway.
Have you seen a change in your, over the last, 20 years or so, about how atheism is perceived?
Well, I mean, you sort of do it... there's part of me that does it because I think I should. That there is someone being persecuted now that might, I can't change the world, but what I mean, maybe someone in a Western world that thinks they shouldn't come out because it's a bad thing, because it's still a bad thing in Western society. In America, they took a vote, America, right? Probably that big bit in the middle of America, but we were voted least trustworthy group, joint bottom with rapists. So there's still a thing about, I better not say I'm an atheist, it'll annoy my mum or dad or granddad or school. There's still that. So you do that. Some of it I do it as an intellectual pursuit, because someone asks me a question, I'd rather give the right answer than the wrong answer. I'd rather tell the truth than lie, because it's easier, I think the big thing, people think I run into churches and go, it's all fucking bollocks. I don't care. But if I'm asked if I believe in God, I'll say no. I mean, the tricky one is I did a film called The Invention of Lying, where I did a scene where thank you, 7 people saw that film, where my mother in that is dying, and it's because I'm the only person in the society who can lie. She says, I don't want to go to nothingness. And I go, there's not nothingness. It's a beautiful place you go and you're young again. And I invent heaven, right? And that comes from the fact that when my mum was dying, I did face a dilemma. If she'd have said, do you think there's a God? That's a personal thing, and that's I just try and be honest, really. And the other is, if someone else's kid, 5-year-old, asks me, do I believe in God? I sort of think, what should I say here? And I say, well, I don't, but a lot of people do. What do you think? I try and, there's still a level of diplomacy. It's not always my place. You know what I mean? I don't, my house, my rules. If someone asks me something on Twitter, I tell them the truth, because,
And Richard, in the last sort of 20, 30 years, have you seen a change in how atheism is perceived?
I'm not a sociologist. I haven't done the research. I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not sure. It would only be a subjective impression. The statistics suggest that we're growing in numbers. obviously in Western Europe, but also even in America, I think the number of people who claim no religion in the United States is now more than 20%, which is large compared to any particular religious denomination. So I think that the statistics show that the trend is in the right direction. But as Ricky says, other polls show that we're down there with rapists in terms of public...
I think they have to lump us in with, agnostics, which I keep trying to explain that on Twitter, that they're not mutually exclusive. One deals with knowledge, one deals with belief. And so, people say on Twitter to me, it's illogical to be an atheist, you should be agnostic. And I say, well, I am as well.
Don't agnostics get on your nerves a bit?
Well, no, because we're all agnostic, aren't we? We're all agnostic by definition. If we accept that no one knows knowledge, I'm being very diplomatic here, but if we accept that no one knows that there's a God or not, right? We might be wrong. We're 99% sure, but let's say we don't know. We're all agnostic. So take it out. It doesn't matter. Now we ask about belief. What do you believe? What's your best bet?
But when someone says they're agnostic, isn't it sort of tempting to go, why don't you just think about it a bit more then?
Well, I just think that there's a category mistake. Some people do it because they don't want to say they believe in God, But if you shouldn't ask an agnostic if there's a God or not. You should ask them, do you believe there's a God or not? Because then they can't say I don't know, because that doesn't make sense. What do you mean you don't know whether you believe or not, right? So
well, that's right.
Yeah.
I think the really sick-making thing is people who think because they're agnostic and we can't know for sure, therefore the likelihood is 50-50.
Yeah.
Very different. I mean, I'm agnostic, but I believe that the likelihood is about 1% or less.
That's not really agnostic, is it?
Yes, it is.
Yes, if we accept that we don't know, if it's a default, we don't know, no one's come back from heaven, no one's proved it. You can't prove the non-existence of something, and why would you? If the periodic table of non-existent things is infinite, it's like... So if we accept that, that's a knowledge, that's a category of knowledge. But if you just say, what do you believe? You have to step up to the plate. You have to say what you believe. And if you don't believe in any God, right, you're an atheist. That's the other misconception. People think that atheism is denying the existence of God, right? It's not. It's just not accepting the claim that there is a God.
But if there were three doors, which says God exists, God doesn't exist, I don't know.
That doesn't make sense.
There's three doors. It says God exists, it doesn't exist, I don't know.
But you not knowing is irrelevant to where there is or isn't a God. You've done a sleight of hand there on a category mistake, because one is knowledge and two are beliefs, right?
I haven't even finished my question.
No, what? No, there's always... I'm saying three is always there. If you had to choose one...
Yeah.
I believe there's a God. I don't believe there's a God. I don't know is irrelevant then, isn't it?